Hey guys, DGoon24 here. Just finished watching the Daytona 500 and I have a few things to say about it. Kind of a different video. I kind of want to do the post race reaction type things, where I talk about it. I don't know how feasible it's going to be. I work Sunday nights in March going forward, but we'll see. I was able to watch this one and I got a lot to say about it. Excuse the different background. Currently reorganized my studio and I haven't put anything on this back wall and it's kind of a mess. So please bear with me here while you know, us here at DGoon24 Inc. Uh, reappropriate things and get ourselves set up. Anyway, so the Daytona 500 just ended. William Byron won, and overall, very good race. Lots of action throughout. Wasn't really a lot of single file parade stuff. I was entertained by the race itself. It was good. Didn't really have much to complain about until the last, I don't know, 300 feet of the race. It went about as well as you could hope. A small wreck at the beginning, thanks to Brad pushing wrong as per usual and taking out the 21, who I was rooting for specifically in that race. So that was a bummer to have the guy you were rooting for out, after what, 4 laps or I don't know how many laps. It was within the first, 10th of the race, basically. But other than that, it was pretty good. Kind of looked like Kyle Busch was gonna be up there. He had a dominant car, as did Hamlin and Logano. It was definitely entertaining. I'm always one. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll know to complain about the Fox broadcast. As most years they are terrible, goofy, incorrect, lots of mistakes. The cartoon characters, lots of commercials. Surprisingly, I have not too much bad to say. I thought they did an overall fine job until the end. Again, I mean, the pre-race stuff was corny, whatever. A lot of commercials. I'll never understand their need to use in-car radios during the pre-race grid instead of just going through it and talking about each driver. They had to cut in like every other row to talk to someone. That was lame. I posted a video of their original 2001 starting lineup and it was very good, and a lot of people seem to think so. But that doesn't really affect the race. It wasn't a big deal. But other than that, yeah, there were a lot of commercials. The Dude Perfect segment was cringe. Very cringe. I understand it was a sponsored advertisement, but whatever. It did seem like there was a lot of commercials. I know they always like to say that they front load them. And while that's fair, it felt like every 45 seconds something was being put on the screen that took up most of the screen that was an advertisement, whether or not that was an actual commercial or not. Every onboard view is sponsored. That's why only certain cars have them. They're all sponsored, and that's why they use them so much, even if they're not good for the broadcast. Everything is sponsored, and I get that's how the sport works. But there's just so much being thrown at you. NASCAR is known for its commercialization, aka all of the sponsors on the suits, on the cars, and that's fine. They've always been that way. But it just feels during the broadcast, it was taken up to 11. And for me, I'm used to it. But I want to imagine the people that did come in from this Netflix show, or casuals watching, and they are just berated with commercials and advertisements every 45 seconds. And let's say I'm exaggerating, which I probably am a little, but every few minutes you've got a full screen ad, or a side-by-side ad, or a Wendy's promo, or a Toyota promo. It's just too much. It's just too much, and it's excruciating to sit through it. I'm going to sit through it no matter what, because I like NASCAR. I like race cars. But someone that is here excited after watching the show, I would like to think that they're going to see that and be put off by it, probably, or else they just think that that's how it works and they go forward. But I would like to think that the people that are giving it a try might be put off with, hey, I'm missing the race. People that watch F1, let's say people like the F1 show, and then they went to NASCAR show. Like, oh, I'll give this a try. With F1, you get an entire race without commercials. Yeah, there's a little in advertisement, but not bad, like presented by blank. But it was just a lot. It was a lot. and was just was every time they went to say something like presented by this or here's the FS1 basketball game, whatever. It was just excruciating. And it sucks because that kind of stuff overshadows a darn good NASCAR race, especially a super speedway one at that. So let's move forward all of past that and get down to the nitty gritty. The last 15 laps or so were amazing. They were 3 by 3 by 3 with pushing and shoving, and everyone was just battling for position. I really, really enjoyed it. It's been a while since we've had a play race without a true big one and racing like that. And I really enjoyed it. It just felt like the runs could come pretty well, and everyone was doing a pretty good job until Bowman and Byron took out the field into 3. Now it did feel inevitable. Just that kind of racing, it's going to happen. And it did. It took out half the field. Poor Ryan Blaney got another hard hit. Looked like he hurt his hand, but he was fine. And it just was inevitable. You saw a few guys like Kyle Busch and Bubba Wallace hang to the back and avoid it, and they were going to be in good shape. The few guys up front that avoided it were obviously in good shape, and then 17 cars in the middle were taken out. Very unsurprising. For me, when I race iRacing, I know this is not really comparative, but if for me, if I'm in the middle of that kind of pack and it's like that, and there's still 5 to go, you might as well just bail. Because if there's nowhere to go, if you're in the middle of that, then you're just going to be inevitably caught up in that wreck. Like I said, that's just iRacing. And of course, this kind of race like iRacing with how silly and the big crash it was. But it's just stuff like that makes you, for me, when I watch that on TV, I learned to do it in real life. And iRacing is actually worse. So, but enough of that. It's just, they were smart. They hung back and they gave themselves a shot at the end, especially with Bubba, considering he had to pit for fuel. Why put yourself in that position if you inevitably had to pit? But the big one came, took out most of the field, and they had a restart, and it was 2 by 2. Nobody really could generate a run on that last green white checkered. It was pretty silly. And as soon as the runs came, what happened at the start finish line happened. The one car got a push on the 24, went for a move in the middle, just as the 2 had kind of got a bad push and was kind of coming up, and Ross went for a hole. Normally, I am a big Ross is too aggressive person. I'm not a big Ross fan, but I don't think he did anything wrong. He was making a move to win the 500, and it just didn't work. People have done much stupider things, himself included. And it caused us a crash, and him and Cindric went spinning. And here is my whole big problem. This is why I am super disappointed. I spent 4 hours today, very excited, watching the race. And yes, I might have tweeted some stuff on Twitter. I'm the type of guy that just tweets how I feel on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see that I tweet a lot during a race day, especially this one. And I have my negative things to say, but I also call out things when they're good. Like the Fox broadcast when they did they go a football field a second. They had the yard markers out there. That was really cool. And I don't think the Fox broadcast was necessarily bad today. I know I'm detracting from my point, but Clint continues to be the weak link of this broadcast, but I don't think he was necessarily bad today. Kevin Harvick is outstanding in the booth. He still needs to obviously learn his P's and Q's when it comes to timing with everybody, and that's fine. He brings good insight, and I'm happy he's there. Mike Joy, even in his age, is still fine. Him reading off a Dude Perfect promo is strange and weird. I may not be the biggest Mike Joy fan, but I respect his tenure, and he can still do it better than some. I do think Alan Bestwick is peak. Currently, Mike Joy is one of the GOATs, but I think he's aged, he's not as good, but he still is a good addition to the broadcast, and I don't really have anything negative to say about him either. Overall, I thought that part was fine. Like I said, if I had any complaints, it was maybe Clint being too much hot rod, push, just the whole not taking it super seriously. But overall, I didn't really have any huge complaints. But anyway, that's all before this last lap deal. So the 2 in the I think the 1 are spinning to the grass, and for a second it looks like they're going to spin into the infield and it'll be fine, but of course they slide back up into traffic, taking out a few cars, and they call the caution and the race is over. Now, here's my complaint. I understand the whole throwing the yellow because there was maybe a big impact in there, and that's fine. I do wish they would have waited until the backstretch if they were going to call it after the line. Maybe give them some chance to race it out. I do think it's inexcusable that they didn't call it before the line. It was pretty obviously two cars are spinning into the grass with the possibility of them coming back up. And they had, I mean, I just don't understand how race control, it does not have someone over the button in situations like that. They're coming to the line the most important time to be near that button, coming to the line to take the white flag, because once they cross the white flag, the race is over. It's done. Next flag ends the race. So if you hit that button, it's over. It's done. Or they make it around, obviously, and they finish under green. So you need to be on that button. Now, obviously, you know, I'm telling race control how to do their jobs. Could you do it? Well, I feel like I could hold my hand over the button and call it at an adequate time. And I feel like I could figure out what a caution was. It's just a bummer. For me personally, to sit there for 4 hours and be hyped and excited and think it was a damn good stock car race for it to end like that. The biggest race of the year, and what they proclaim the biggest motorsport race of the year, when even though it's the Indy 500, this is still a big, obviously, race. It's NASCAR's biggest race. It's the biggest stock car race in the world. And I mean, I love the Daytona 500, but if it's that important, you need to try to get it to finish under green. A finish like this sucks. It makes everyone leave the track, leave watching with a bad taste in their mouth, unless you're a Hendrick or William Byron fan. It stinks. And again, as someone, if you were to watch the Netflix show and you stuck through the whole thing, I'd like to think you'd be pretty disappointed, but once again, you might not know. I'm not the type of person that would know. I'll say my wife was like, I don't understand. Why don't, it looked like the race was over to me? And I'm like, yes, because they called a caution, and that means the race is over. I was trying to explain to her that if they had called it before the line, they would have kept going. And it's just a bummer to end under yellow. And that's not even with the controversy. They never showed a good replay at the moment of caution. They've done this many times with Logano and Earnhardt, and other times when the caution came out, who was ahead, who was where. I don't believe this is a scoring loop situation, but if it is, I don't understand the need for scoring loops. Scoring loops, I feel, are silly unless you're doing pit road. If a caution comes out any time during the race, I don't understand why you can't just hit the button. Then the field freezes, the timing freezes, and you put everyone in that line. Obviously, if they were wrecked and couldn't keep speed, put them to the back, or put them where they were in line. But I don't understand the need for scoring loops. Why can you not just hit the caution button and the field freezes? Maybe I'm too old, or not even old-fashioned. Maybe there's a good explanation. I don't understand. If someone could give me a good explanation on why scoring loops are needed, tell me. Because all I got is pit road, and that's fine. But if a caution comes out, why is the field not frozen exactly when that button's pressed? But like I said, I don't believe that was the actual reasoning why William Byron won. So when the caution actually came out, there's an onboard of Bowman's car, and it looks like as soon as that light switches, Bowman is either ahead, barely, it just depends on your timing, or they are in a dead heat. All we had was the roof of Bowman's car, which does not have a good angle, so it's kind of impossible to tell. A lot of people on Twitter a lot of people saying Bowman won this race. I kind of felt like it too. There's not a good angle. Fox just completely swept it aside. It was never brought up. Never. There was no pause. Here's the moment of caution. Look how close it was. I believe it was 0.006 seconds was the official scoring. And that's pretty darn close. But can we see it? To put all doubts aside? Was NASCAR telling Fox not to show it? To get the 24 car in victory lane? Who knows? I don't know. But it's just something that, along with it ending under yellow, that leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It leaves me feeling disappointed after being hyped up for the last 2 months for this race, especially recently. And it lived up to the hype. It was a great race, and it was probably going to be a great finish too. Obviously, wrecks are going to happen at the end of these things. They always do. But it just left a bad taste in my mouth. I don't really like William Byron. I don't really have anything against him. But I don't like him. And this is not me being upset because of the winner. I mean, obviously, the only way I would have not been this way if it was like Landon, Bubba, Tyler Reddick, or Harrison or Timmy Hill. Like, yes, I would prefer all those guys, and even if they'd won, my bias probably would have shown, and that's fine and that's fair. Everyone has that. But just because it was William Byron doesn't mean I lean one way or the other. It, I don't know. It's disappointing. Disappointing. I just bummed that we couldn't finish under green. I'm not saying that 100 green white checkers is the answer. I'm not saying one is the answer. I'm not saying overtime one lap shootouts like Arca was the answer. There's got to be a better answer. I don't know it. I don't know if that's putting a line on, like, I'm not saying an overtime line. I don't want to do that. But I just wish there was something that they could do to give them a finish, especially when it's right past the start finish line. That happens so often. And it's such a bummer to have to end the biggest race of the year under yellow. And not even like they were coming off of turn 4, but like they just passed the white flag. They had a whole another 2.5 miles to go. I don't know. I know I'm a big NASCAR hater, as a lot of you say. I'm very negative. I have nothing but happy things to say. Like, I mean, yes, aside from the broadcasting stuff, I was very happy with that race. It was a good plate race. It was. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. But that stuff just sucks. It takes all the air out. I'm gonna go watch the Xfinity race. Hopefully that'll be better, but I doubt it. I'm sure that'll go off without a hitch. God, this has such bad potential that this comes out during or after the Xfinity race. Anyway, what'd you think of the race? You tell me in the comments below. Please try to keep it civil and nice. I'm not here to cuss or swear at you guys or at anybody. That's just how I was feeling, and I just wanted it to end under green, you know. And I'm not saying Bowman was the winner, and I'm not saying. I mean, I put on Twitter, but like you're just having fun on there. I don't know. I don't really know how to feel. I just know I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe if you haven't. Like I said, this might be a routine thing for me to do some post-race stuff. I know the world doesn't need another NASCAR podcast show, but here I am. I already got 5,000 of you here watching, so why not talk about a little actual NASCAR? So thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.